It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
We have the former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. Newt, your thoughts, Mr. Speaker. First off, let's get to what we're talking about. Who do you think Kamala may pick? There's rumors it may be Josh Shapiro. We have other names. What do you think?
Well, I think that if she thought her party could take the stress, that Shapiro would be the most logical candidate, because if he can help her carry Pennsylvania, despite her deep opposition to fracking and guaranteed unemployment in Western Pennsylvania, he put her a long way towards being really competitive if she could add Pennsylvania to her states. I think it's more likely that she'll pick Mark Kelly. I think it helps a little bit in Arizona, but it gives her a fighter pilot astronaut whose wife as a congresswoman was shot. So he has a remarkable story to tell, and it would be a pretty powerful balance to J.D. Vance, and would in a sense balance her off, because he is in some ways he's dramatically further towards the center than Harris, who's a San Francisco radical and who's going to have, I think, a difficult time disowning her entire career.
You know, Newt Gingrich, the other issue, too, of course, today is what's going on in Congress. We saw Netanyahu speak. Boy, was it unbelievably powerful. And I thought about this moment as I was watching him, and you have seen so many great speeches there. You've done many great speeches there in Congress. And he said, these pro-Hamas protesters that were standing outside the Capitol, and we're going to be talking to Chief Shell, who's right in the thick of it from the NYPD in a moment, they are useful idiots. And anybody who supports them, shame on them. It was like a real leader speech. And I thought, boy, if we had an American president that currently gave the same type of speech, things would be a lot better.
It was shocking how I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Governor Patterson.
It was shocking how many quotable lines were in that speech and how absolutely correct they were. And if you heard the speech and didn't react any other way than those protesters were, then he called them for what they really are.
Yeah, and by the way, Newt, you probably saw a number of Democrats were not clapping when he called out the useful idiot protesters. They sat while he said that.
Well, of course. Look, a large part of the Democratic Party are useful idiots. I mean, why would they applaud their own description? And anybody who refuses to understand that the official policy of Hamas is that not a single Jew will remain. And think about that. Not a single Jew will remain. That's their, so when the Secretary of State goes over to negotiate, does he say, well, could we have like 10? I mean, would 20 be too many? I mean, this is insane. When you're dealing with a terrorist operation who openly states they want to destroy you, the correct answer is defeating them. This is what Franklin Delano Roosevelt meant when he said unconditional surrender in dealing with Nazi Germany. He didn't want to negotiate a truce with Nazi Germany. He wanted to annihilate it, because as long as it existed, it would be evil. Well, you have to be prepared to either tolerate constant warfare or to break the capacity to fight of groups that are terrorist groups. And this includes Iran, whose parliament routinely chants death to America and death to Israel, and whose Ayatollah has said on public television just 3 months ago that death to America is not a slogan, it's a policy.
And I want to note, I want to remind everybody that the Suez Canal and the Red Sea, which Iran paid the Houthis to close down, President Biden has done zero on opening it up again.
Right. Look, when you have appeasement-oriented left-wingers who are afraid to face reality, afraid to face the facts, afraid to use power, the world becomes more dangerous. And it's going to keep getting more dangerous. So it's a really big problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Newt Gingrich also, and a little bit from now, we are going to hear the President of the United States addressing the country. It's the first time he has spoken since he was pushed out And today, we heard from Corinne Jean-Pierre, and she was asked by reporters, granted, she's, doesn't want to usurp her boss, but she said, he had nothing to do with health. There's nothing. He just did it for the good of the country. What do you think we're going to hear tonight?
I have no idea. I mean, he's not going to get up and say, Nancy Pelosi and the others bullied me into resigning. That doesn't work. So I think he's probably going to say that I've done everything I could for the country. I love the country. I wish the country well. And I strongly endorse Kamala Harris as my successor. And we have to do everything we can to stop Donald Trump and the bad guys. I mean, it'd be something like that. In a way, it's a kind of a farewell address, which normally occurs at the end of a presidency. But in some ways, this is the end of his presidency. The power is now shifting to Kamala. And for all practical purposes, she is the leader of the government now. He's not.
And Newt Gingrich, Ed Cox has a question.
Look, it's clear it's going to be a very political speech. He even made his State of the Union one long political speech. And when he claims time, supposedly for something governmental, again, this is going to be a very tough political speech.
I would think so. I mean, plus, he's got to be very, very angry. And so rather than take his anger out on the people who pushed him out of office, he's going to take his anger out on Republicans and on Trump, and maybe to some extent on Netanyahu.
Yeah, you know what? Also, Newt Gingrich, too. We keep hearing from the Democrats, and you've heard it a lot from Kamala and others, saying, Trump is a threat to democracy. And I'm thinking, what have you guys been doing the last few days?
Yeah, I mean, this was pure. This was a coup. We've never seen anything like it in American history. You had a group get together led, I think, largely by the San Francisco super boss, Nancy Pelosi. They brought more and more and more pressure to bear. Then you had Biden collapse. And as soon as Biden collapsed, they pivoted. And lo and behold, the San Francisco vice president suddenly becomes the Democratic nominee. So they have managed, with her having no competition, no votes. She has never in her career carried a single precinct for president. And yet now she's the nominee because the powers that be are putting her in. And it's something like, and according to the Democracy Project poll, something like 60% of the American people, including a lot of Democrats, believe this is essentially undemocratic and wrong. And I think it's certainly not the American way of doing things. And it's ironic that after all the speeches on democracy, that in fact it's the Democrats who've shown us what this was a coup worthy of Putin or Xi Jinping. I mean, they must look with great admiration on Pelosi's ability to manipulate the system and bring down the president of the United States.
Well, Newt Gingrich, thank you very much, and thank you for coming on. And Newt, we love you, and thank you for your honesty and integrity.
Glad talking to you.
Thank you.